Hi, my name is Jason Skill and welcome to my studio. Composition is one of those subjects in art that I don't think is that well taught, that often taught. I know in my own educational experience of going to, doing commercial art at an art school and then going on to doing a degree in a university, I didn't find there was much help and guidance relating to composition, particularly in teaching how artists in the past had composed pictures. It's kind of a lost knowledge. So what I decided to do recently was to start to really read up about it and to start to look at how artists break down compositions in the past in the hope that I could pass that information on to my own students in studio and also to share that in my general teaching. So what I've been doing is I've been looking at different artists, and here I've been looking at Rembrandt. This is an image I found on the Smithsonian website, which is free. It's listed as one of their free to use for educational and development purposes artworks. What we're going to be doing here is looking at this etching by Rembrandt and breaking it down in terms of its composition. And it's so much more than this sort of 1/3, 2/3, which is spouted as being the kind of the way to divide up composition. Let's have a look at what I've found. Here we have the basic image. What I've done here, the lines and boxes on this are the Fibonacci golden section, golden mean lines that are seen as kind of primary importance in classical construction. So here I've drawn these on top of the image to see if they have a specific strength or need within the picture plane. And I would say not really. I can't see that this is a specifically important element of this composition. You may disagree, but let me continue. Let's have another different look at it. Now let's look at it in terms of the strength and importance of a triangle. So basically we have this kind of pyramidal structural point. So you can see that if we go through the top of the head from the bottom corner here of the lady, and we go kind of through the nose, the sort of middle point in Christ, through the sort of eye point in this figure and down, and then up to the eye of Christ and down through here. You can see that on the tip of the nose, there seems to be a general feel of division which is driven by that form. You could also argue that if we look back at the previous image, just the raw one, we could say, well, it is kind of thirds. There's sort of a third there, and then kind of a third there, and then we've got sort of a third kind of where the head of this lady is, and about a third where this foot is and the hand is. So that you could say that that is one of the compositional points. But I don't think it's a strong structural one. It's just a division. Now let's look at just things that line up diagonally. So when I looked at things that lined up diagonally, the hand of this figure to the tip of this toe to the bottom of this foot, and then let's take, say, the top of the head, the elbow of this figure, up to the middle of the hands of Christ, the eye of Christ, through to the nose of here. So basically there seems to be a diagonal division going through that seems to line up with specific points, the hand, the eye of this figure. It seems to be a slanted division point. And when I've gone the other way, we also have other points that line up. Edge of this, the child's head, the nose of this figure, underneath the chin of this, the hands of this, the end of this figure's beard, underneath Christ's hand to his to the hand of this figure. There seems to be a general division this way, which would back up the basic pyramid idea. The more interesting aspect is the idea of circulation. So a lot of art, particularly in this period, start to look at kind of circulating rhythms. And Rembrandt was a big fan of Rubens, who I think was one of the greatest painters ever, and definitely one of the best composers of pictures that there has ever been. His compositions are incredibly complicated and interesting, Rubens, and Rembrandt was a big fan. So this circulating idea would play a part. So I found a point that I thought was central and started to just look for circles of where things seems to line up. And it's amazing how, say, the top of Christ's head lines up with the top of this figure's turban. The edge of this person's head, when it comes round, that lines up with this point here. There are points in the composition when you start to see it in terms of circles that seem to make more sense. But these circle points are not necessarily random. So let's say we go for a central point, the edge, or slightly off center, for the point of Christ's edge of his hand, and we come down here. Then we start to see how the tip of the bottom of the head of this figure and the toe lines up. Now when we go further out, let's take the edge of Christ's hand. This comes up and it hits this figure here. It hits this child's hand, its elbow, its knee. It comes through that way. So each one of these circles that I placed in seems to be in some ways linking the figures. So now we have a circle to the left, which seems to be binding the composition. A almost central circle, which seems to also be linking the composition. And if we take the line of the last, so this was this point here, and now I've chosen another point on this diagonal, and then place the central point, and we seem to have, again, points which quite amazingly link up, like the edge of this figure's head to the bottom of this figure's beard, top of this figure's head to this child's hand, the point at the edge of this figure's head through to the stone or purse, whatever it is, placed on the floor. It seems to be no coincidence that these points are particularly plotted and planned out. Let's have a look at another. Within this area, there seems to be some circulating movement. So I placed another dot in the center there and plotted some additional lines round. And you can see how it also starts to link aspects, top of this figure's head, point on the shoulder, edge of this figure's hand, top of the child's head here, to the middle point of this figure's nose, elbow point of Christ's garment. And then I've placed another circle point to the right because there seems to be circulating movement here. And once again, things are also lining up. This is basically because Rembrandt is dividing the frame of the picture up in kind of diagonal lines, and then he's placing a compass point on these points, and then he's deciding how to put the figures within the picture so that they knit together precisely. So it's really worth looking at compositions that artists have done in the past and see if you can find sort of things that seem to line up on diagonals. Can you find things that line up if you're looking for areas which are circulating? Is there more than one circle in the picture, or is it built only on one circle? So when we go back through, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different circulating points. We have slanted diagonal points, and pyramidal, to make this rather wonderful painting. Sorry, etching. I would start to think of artists as designers, as designers of exquisite images that have been put together with incredible care and planning. We often imagine that an artist sort of just sits down and draws. he didn't do that. It was a carefully planned out process. And an artist would take time to make these images, because then these images could be reused on a larger scale. Perhaps figure combinations could be reused. So I just thought I'd bring to your attention the interest in looking at compositions and how it might enrich your view of art, and also enrich your ability to plan images yourself by just beginning to look at an artist's work and see more than the finished surface. Try to see what lies beneath the invisible structure of an artist's artwork. I hope that's been interesting. If you want to learn more and you want to get a deeper understanding of composition and other things relating to painting and drawing, then I thoroughly recommend that you go to my my website Studio, and you'll find that will give you a really good grounding in art education, and particularly in terms of watercolor. Hopefully you'll see that, or you may want to subscribe to my YouTube channel. If so, then hit that subscribe button, and I will see you again soon. Bye.